president of the University of Oklahoma, Joseph Harroz, and the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, Greg Sankey. President Harroz, it's absolutely joyful to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
And Commissioner, welcome again.
Good to see you. We haven't seen each other in a few hours, and today's the first day I've been on with you and watched Taylor Hicks perform in the video to see the 16-team version. It's a big day.
It just debuted, and we're pretty happy about it. I know a lot of this is territory you've been talking about, but we're going to act like nobody's heard it.
Fantastic.
This means so much, not only to the University of Oklahoma, but I know, and I want you to talk about, Mr. President, about what it means to the people of this state.
Yeah, I think it means a great deal. When we were looking at the changing atmosphere of college athletics several years ago, I think it was hit us all tectonically whenever we saw the Alston case, the 9-0 Supreme Court decision 3 years ago that really fundamentally said intercollegiate athletics has changed. We knew at that time, and shortly thereafter the announcement came out that Oklahoma and Texas were going. It means the world. We wanted to have two things wherever we went next, and that was the chance to play on the biggest of stages, to compete for national championships, and to make sure we remained one of those programs where students didn't pick up part of the cost of athletics. And so it means a lot, not just for OU, but for the entire state of Oklahoma. Exposure to 12 more states, right? And the exposure to those under the brightest light on the biggest stage, and a chance to showcase who we are, not just as a university, but as a state.
And Commissioner, you've seen most of the state today. Just as you've made the trip around to different cities and visiting with different people, just your thoughts as this is all finally reality.
I've been struck the last 2 days by the care and the expectation, and we haven't talked a lot about it. We've talked a lot, but we haven't talked a lot about it publicly. And so to simply be at the moment of celebration, to realize the anticipation, and to turn the page and realize it's a new era. What the president just talked about was their recognition a new era was coming, and the affiliation for the future had great meaning. And I think the same for our 14 members, now 16 members. But we don't have the luxury of simply relaxing and saying, well, our work's done here. We have a lot ahead, a great deal of work ahead. And the great thing is, part of our integration plan is we've been working in many ways as a 16-team league. We just haven't let President Harroz and President Hartzell vote yet, so their right arms are out of shape for lifting and voting.
But to be clear, I'm sitting here right now holding on.
You are.
Literally and figuratively, SEC. So that era is over, Commissioner.
Yeah.
And we're thrilled to be a true and full part of the SEC.
And President, I asked you about the state, and I wondered just from the institution standpoint, that's what you do here every day. You run one of the largest and most respected institutions in this part of the world. How does it trickle down to everything you do?
Yeah, it's a great question. When you look at intercollegiate athletics, it's really what binds a lot of us together. Whether you're in a world that seems to be separated by red and blue, Democrat, Republican, and so much divisiveness, intercollegiate athletics brings us together. And for a university, it's the connective tissue. And what we love about it is that we have had great growth. The last 2 years, we've had double-digit growth in our freshman class. But when you look at what our purpose is, which is to change lives of all those students that come here, 26% of students who come here are the first in the history of their families to go past high school. The key to success is, does somebody belong? Not just can they get admitted, but do they truly belong? In athletics, intercollegiate athletics at this level, on this stage, makes everyone, regardless of backgrounds, feel a part of the same team. So it's remarkably important, and it allows us to take our teaching, our research, the economic impact we have for the state region, and our research that impacts small and large on a much bigger stage. So for me, intercollegiate athletics is at the essence of what helps make our university and its purpose successful.
And Commissioner, you deal with it wherever you go, whether it's here in the States or globally. Somebody's going to stop you, and they're going to tell it's not, hey, your team just won the national championship, which your team just did, won the national championship. It's, hey, I went too. and it is that connection.
It is. In fact, I'm on airplanes and in airports, and I'm at a point where people recognize me, and we'll have a conversation about their alma mater. In the last few weeks, knowing the anticipation of this date, I've had fans approach me and talk about their excitement of our expansion and the embrace there. When I talk to NFL players who are back on our campuses, they talk about coming home. When we introduced the graduate patch with the SEC logo, I had outreach via email and social media and letters where people who are students, graduates, alums said, "Hey, can I buy one of those for myself? Or do you make car decals where I could have my school colors and the SEC logo and the word graduate underneath it?" I think that's part of the culture that we try to create. That's part of the embrace, and that's part of where the fan base, the university's commitment, the athletics achievement makes this one of the right moves, along with the addition of the University of Texas as we look to the future.
And President Harroz, I don't want to minimize the success of athletic endeavors. That's what it's all about. But how do you feel it from your office? Because I've talked to many college leaders who say, yeah, it affects it because everyone is watching.
Yeah, it does impact it. And what it does is it gives you a chance to showcase through sport the life-changing opportunities that exist here. A lot of folks, you wouldn't get their attention unless you had that. A lot of people wouldn't feel connected. A lot of people would look at a university like an ivory tower. In a lot of ways, this humanizes it, speaks to the human condition, and allows you to be a part of something bigger than yourself that's both familiar and engaging. So when you look at how do we accomplish our mission of education, teaching, research, service, intercollegiate athletics at the University of Oklahoma is foundational to that because it connects all of us, brings us together.
Commissioner, you talked about this day being a day of celebration, and we're about to see it inside that stadium. From a personal standpoint, while the president here has been dealing with uncomfortable conference meetings in another conference, you've dealt with it all, and I know you're feeling a lot better than you were 3 years ago, but you have to be feeling pretty good.
Well, you're always mindful of what's happening around you, and I've shared this repeatedly. I first visited the state of Oklahoma in the late 60s. My grandparents had a home here. Who I knew as my grandfather grew up in a place called Choteau, Oklahoma. He was a member of the Tulsa 798 United Association of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters local union. He was a fan of the Yankees, not because we lived in upstate New York, but because of Mickey Mantle. And Oklahoma was a conversation point in my extended family. So there's a warmth to be here and just know that 55 years later, basically, in my life, I'm in this leadership position where when you think about the future, the state of Oklahoma and the University of Oklahoma are part of that for the Southeastern Conference. All this stuff in the background was in 2021, all the frustration that was expressed, but you look at what's happened in college athletics during the ensuing 3 years, and I think it shows that our presidents and chancellors, our athletics directors, the leadership at Oklahoma and Texas had it exactly right. We're the one conference where that Southeastern designation is that quadrant we occupy still. We have a geographic connection, we have a philosophical connection, and I'm really enthused about our future.
So, President Harroz, I've asked Commissioner Sankey a lot about those difficult days. I'll ask you, because you were on the other side. There were things you could say, there were things you couldn't say. But when the reality struck 3 years ago that this was going to happen with you and your colleague in Austin, we're ready to make the move. Take us back to that moment in time.
Yeah, the conversation started well before that. The idea made a lot of sense. We put it on paper. And on paper, it made sense. It made sense for the university. It made sense for the state of Oklahoma, which is important. when you have more than one university in your state. And it all made sense. But as soon as it started to get real, there was a level of anxiety because you knew at any point it could get disrupted. So for me, the anxiety was mainly about, is something going to prevent this? Because we knew it would be the right thing if we could just get it accomplished.
It's a very simple question, but you two are in the business of keeping things secret because you just, I'm not. I tell everybody everything I know. How did you both of you? Because that was a moment that the wrong leak could have blown the whole thing up.
Yeah, we had a president's meeting in early June where I just laid open the reality that both Oklahoma and Texas were interested in pursuing membership, and it was a stop or start moment with our 14 presidents at the time. And then there were conversations that took place, but part of the stress that I caused for Joe and for Jay Hartzell was, I said, you have to make your decision about the Big 12. The way their relationship was structured there, we're not going to entertain applications or make commitments. And so there was a point that was explained, I think, very directly in June, where you'll have to make that decision, and then there's going to be a point of risk for all of us. They could have gone someplace else. I think their interest, they decided, was with us. I also said, when you notify the Big 12 and then apply here, I can't guarantee you an invitation. That's subject to a vote of our membership, and that vote that vote took place a couple days later. It became unanimous, which I credit all 14 of our universities for that. And there was some difficulty in that across more than just one of our campuses as they tried to sort out the future. But what was central to the conversation was our decision making, and again, I think this has been supported by what's happened the last 3 years, allowed all of our 16 universities to influence their direction together, rather than to be subject to what happened around them. So think about what happened in 22. Think about what happened in 23 with conference movement. We got to make our own decisions, and we decided these 16 universities are the right affiliation. But very directly, there was a gap there where the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas knew you're going to have to make a decision about the Big 12. You're going to make outreach to us about membership. We have to make a decision. In the interim, it could go any direction.
To be clear, I was terrified. I'd like to say I was sweating worse than this in these conversations. He kept his word at all times, and he did it with great integrity. The key, I think, Paul, was the president of the University of Texas, Jay Hartzell, Chris Del Conte, despite his performance on your show, was a steady hand that kept it together, and Joe Castiglione. And then the leadership of our University of Texas didn't balk. Anyone could have leaked it. Anyone could have blown it up. It wouldn't have been that difficult. But through the commissioner's steady leadership and others, it had to be the right alignment, and it just came together in terms of the people that you could trust. And believe me, individuals tried to pick off Oklahoma and Texas separate from each other. But because of those relationships, we stood together.
And from the moment of the story during media days, we never talked. Yeah. They knew there was interest. They knew that I could not make a commitment. I had presented fully to our presidents and chancellors, and they had to make a decision about the Big 12. That was done on that Monday. They applied on Tuesday. We offered the invitations on Thursday. They accepted on Friday, and here we are today.
And what a day it is. I know there's a lot more to do, so I'll let both of you gentlemen move along for the celebration, but congratulations.
Paul, it's an honor to be on your show. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
What a thrill.
All right, Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner indeed, as that we continue our coverage live in Norman.